To another Monday musing, and we're just going to wait for Amanda to join us, but we're talking about lower face aging, those jowls, the softening of the jawline that happens to all of us as time ticks by, and we're going to talk about that and what solutions we have, from skincare to technologies that we use, such as radio frequency microneedling, halo, as well as fillers. You know, they play a huge role in facial aging and managing those changes. We lose volume naturally as time goes on, and if we replace it in those places that we've lost it from, we can maintain a very natural look and just help you look your best. So this series of 3 on Mondays is all about facial aging and just sort of educating everybody on what happens as we age, right? So the first one we did in January, and you can find it on our YouTube channel. Just look for Sona MD Kamloops and you'll find our channel there, and you can kind of review all these videos. But the first one, we sort of did an overview of facial aging, right? We talked about volume loss, some of the skin changes. And then the second one that we did last week was on the upper face, and how often do we have people coming in talking about, you know, my eyes look tired and I want to do this and doing this all the time. What's going on, right? So we talked a little bit about that. And today we're going to talk about the lower face and how that is, you know, connected to the lower half of the face. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I like to explain to people is we're sort of like a balloon, you know, and we've got a sheet over us, and it's like that air sort of goes out and we start to deflate a little bit, and this starts to happen, right? And as we lose volume up here, guess what's going on down here, right?
Don't remind me.
Yeah. It happens to us all, right?
So it happens to everybody. I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, that's right. And you get a lot of people coming in and talking to you about those concerns. And I would say, what would you say? I mean, I think it usually starts here. And then as time goes on, people will, what do they say to you?
Well, it's funny because I find a lot of patients that come in are not aware of this. And,
right.
You know, like always, not always, but very often it's, I don't like these, I don't like this.
Yes.
But fix this. I don't like this and I don't like this, right?
Right.
And then this.
Right.
The softness that we get here and the heaviness, or the jowls, right?
Yeah.
But so often it's this and this, and even younger than you would think. And I know you and I have talked about that, like babies have this.
Right. So this business here, the nasolabial folds, they become bothersome to people when they're happening in the context of other changes that maybe are more subtle, mm-hmm. and give the sort of give the suggestion of sagginess, right? So if we look at babies and you study their faces, they have nasolabial folds. The difference is they have the folds, but the majority of their volume is carried laterally, right? Mm-hmm. Generally speaking. And as you've got this devolumization laterally, you get this business coming, right? And you have central fullness, and you have this redundancy here, and this starts to look not so great. And visually, oftentimes people will have 11s too, right? You've got mm-hmm. this line bleeding into this line, and guess what impression that gives you? It gives you that feeling of sagginess, and that's really, that feeling is what people don't like.
Yeah, and they don't always know that, right? So that's why I think the consultations are so helpful, because, you know, and the medical photos that we do, because, you know, it's like, okay, but if we just cover this, are you happy?
Yeah.
And often they're not, and it's really because, like we talk about, when we're young, we're more lifted, we're more oval, and then as we age, it all comes down here, we get heavy and square in the bottom of the face. And for my family, I mean, we all have these great big fat cheeks, right?
Yeah.
And then as I, with age, I mean, I'm 50. I'll talk about my age. I don't care. And I think I'm doing pretty good, all things considered.
I was born in the 60s too, so.
You know, it starts here and then it ends up down here.
Yeah.
And it's, I think when you find yourself doing this in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right? Or
That's a good indication that you've probably lost like half a cup of volume in your face. I think that's about when you start to see that. So yeah, start to do this.
It's important for people to understand, you know, if they come in and their major concern is this and this and this, we do have to look at this, right? Because everything we do above it will have that effect indirectly.
100%.
It doesn't mean that we can't help them here, but you know, that's the approach. And I think that's why it was so good that we talked about upper last week.
Yep.
Because it kind of puts it all
Everything
together.
has to look connected, right? Everything has to look connected and natural and appropriate. That's how you keep people looking graceful, right?
Right.
Yeah, so volumization in the upper definitely plays a role. I mean, things also do happen to the skin, right? So we've talked about the role of skincare already and prevention. You do get loss of elastin and you do get loss of collagen in the face for sure. You can prevent it by using good skincare. You can prevent it by using sunscreen all the time. If when you start to see some loss of elasticity, then you also want to, look at treating that with collagen induction therapies. And we'll get into that a little bit later because there's so many new exciting things and technologies that we have to really tighten up that collagen. But also deal with a little bit of sculpting along with replacing volume, right?
So exciting.
So exciting. And I'm going to show you some video too of Amanda's treatment as well. So we talked a little bit about skin elasticity. I'll come back to that with respect to collagen induction. But fillers and then skeletal volume loss, we always talk about fat loss, but our skeleton shrinks too, right? So if you look at our hand, what did we decide? Pat, I think is what we said.
I named him Pat, but
right.
Or
so
her.
we talked about how you lose volume in through here, but if you look at the mandible here as well, this Alyssa back there.
Alyssa's hard at work.
The mandible shrinks, and the chin also shrinks. This portion of our face shrinks, and the chin starts to retract inwards.
Yes.
This shortens, right? As this shortens, you actually get, we already talked about this coming down. Well, what happens when this shortens? Well, guess what? All of a sudden now you've got these lines, right? So part of our treatment is going to be elongating the chin, right? So creating length in through here so that you can create a nice jawline, lifting here, and that just works so nicely, so holistically together, right?
I sometimes say to people, if you push your mandible forward, you're not gonna walk around like that, but if I do that,
yeah,
right? Not that I'm gonna have a chin like Brian Mulrooney or anything like that, but we wouldn't do that. But it's a good demonstration, I think, for people to see. Because really, people don't think about their chins for the most part.
They don't. Right? Yeah.
They focus on this.
Yeah, but if you do this, right, you decrease this, and then visually, we talked about this line, it gets interrupted and it looks better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, when you do your assessment, what you're looking for is what's that person's Achilles heel? What's that aspect of their aging that is aging them beyond other changes? Is it skin changes? You know, we've seen pictures of our patients where we've done nothing else but improve their skin and they look 5 to 10 years younger. Well,
it's amazing.
And so for that person, they might not need fillers because that's not what's aging them beyond the other aspects, the other structures of their face. It's really their skin. So for that person, it's the skin. You know, you may be born with a smaller chin, and if that's the case, you know, just genetically, that's a family trait. For you, fillers might play an integral part. And that's why, again, consultation and coming in, let us having a look and taking a look at what your personal concerns are so important, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And, you know, filler is amazing. It's because, again, like we've talked about, we can put volume back where we used to have it. But sometimes there's other things we can do that aren't filler, right?
Yes, because
and I think that's
we lose volume in certain areas. So we lose volume in certain areas, but guess what? We gain volume in others. Yeah. So jowls, right? We gain. there's certain areas of resistant fat that we develop, and I don't know if it's hormonal or what, but typically as we age, we tend to hang, this fat pad kind of comes down, and that's part of it, but I feel like it gets bigger, or maybe visually gets bigger, but definitely here, the submental area, man, that we hold fat onto that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's so vital to have technologies. I mean, you know, in the old days, you'd take people to the OR, you'd, you know, take out your liposuction cannula and have at her, right? And then the person go home with this, you know, like a garment, basically choking them, compressing, and then, you know, you'd keep them in the hospital for a day or two because all the swelling. You'd be concerned about, you know, compressing the airway. I mean, how scary is that? So anyway, that's olden days, liposuction in this area. We don't need to do that anymore. We have technologies like cool sculpting, but even better now, we have the ability to really sculpt the face with radio frequency microneedling or Morpheus 8. It has been amazing and a game changer. It's been
totally awesome. Game changer.
Yeah, and you had your treatment, what, 48 hours ago?
Yeah. So I'll kind of lean in. So I have a little bit of powder on. Anyway, so just a bit of powder on. So skin feels just a little bit rough. It was rougher yesterday. So I think after any kind of microneedling, collagen induction therapy, that's a common thing. So you're typically a bit red the day of, and the next day it's like dry and rough for about 48 hours. By tomorrow, I'll just use my exfoliating polish and it'll be good to go again. But yeah, you can see for what it's such an, you know, an intense treatment.
Yeah.
Really, you can carry on camping. I mean, there's no worries.
Yeah, I'm going to show everybody your video. That's what I'm reaching around back here.
Oh, okay, cool.
I want to show them. So radio frequency microneedling or Morpheus 8 allows us to go in and actually melt fat. It's amazing. You can go into this area that gets a little bit thicker and melt it. You can go into this area, and I had this done about 6 or 8 months ago. And let me just show you my before and afters, and then I'll show you Amanda's video of her getting this done. But you know, you can melt this. So now imagine you have the ability to use filler to lift up and through here. You can extend the chin, and now you're going to melt those areas. I don't know who would want to do surgery, not me, but I mean, for some people it's needed, and we tell you when you might need it, but for most people, you start early enough. We've got the technology, ladies. And
we do. We've got the power.
We've got the power.
And I think it's important, you know, for people like, and I'm a typical example because I have that shape of face. So like I said, I've always had full cheeks and tend to be heavier in the bottom of my face anyways. It's, yes, we can go in and do filler and, you know, we can, you know, lift and pull back, but I think we get an even better result when we can go in first, get rid of some of that volume with the Morpheus and then go and do filler. So I'm really excited about that. And then maybe we don't use as much.
I'm going to show you mine. So this is mine. This is with the Morpheus 8. You can see my halo ring light, but can you appreciate how there was a bit of fullness when I looked straight ahead underneath?
Yeah, yours was more sort of central, hey?
Right, totally.
Yeah.
But you can actually melt that, and that's permanent. It's amazing. So I want to show them your video that we did, and this is on our, I think I did a reel, so excuse the cheesy music and stuff, but I want to show you guys this. This is mapping out the jowls. Got a bit of a shot, and that's how the treatment's actually done.
And Alyssa's so good.
So good. But that right there, ladies, is where that little skin pocket is what is the bane of so many people's existence, right? And this treatment has been a game changer. So yeah, so combining technologies, I think, is what's important, right? And then finding something that fits people's ability to tolerate downtime, right?
Yeah, and like there is no downtime with this other than a bit of dry skin for a couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big deal. And I think we were talking about, you know, how it might be worth talking about how quickly can people expect to see changes, right? Because it takes time.
It does take time because we're really stimulating your body, and we're giving it, we're giving it the program to run, but it's your body's job to run it. And so the best health you're in, we talk about drinking water, feeding your body the right nutrition, you're going to get the optimal results, and those results will be seen over 3 to 6 months. So you do have to give it some time, but it's permanent. It's your collagen. We're not putting anything in there when we do Morpheus except for energy, right?
Totally.
So it's a great treatment, and that in combination with the other things that we talked about, I think it makes a great treatment.
And I think one of the things that was interesting, Jody that was with us on the weekend from InMode, that she had mentioned, and when she said it, I kind of looked at you and you looked at me, because it really resonated with our philosophy of, a holistic approach, right? Yes. And she said, she remarked on my skin, and she said, okay, she has great skin. Clearly she takes care of her skin. This would be something that we should, we'd want to make sure that people, to get their skin ready for the treatment. Maybe Can you speak to that?
We always start with skin health, right? We talk about making sure that your skincare has the right ingredients in it, and making sure that you can, you understand how to use those ingredients so that we can really optimize your skin health. And then as you're getting into your 20s, 30s, we might start talking about collagen induction. You might want to do a traditional microneedling. We may also start talking about growth factors, right? Because those are the little cytokines, the little proteins in our fibroblasts that tell our skin to make collagen and elastin, and keep it, elastic. Right. So we start adding growth factors into skincare regimens.
Very important for the neck, ladies. Very important for the neck. I'm like, and an extra pump for my neck.
Yeah. And, that's why we love working with Zeo, and we love working with New Cutis. They have excellent growth factors, and we have special ones for the neck, because that skin is a little bit different than the rest of the face, right? So growth factors are key as well.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I think a lot of people come in and they know what bugs them, but they don't necessarily know how to address it, right?
Yeah.
And there's always more than one way to address it, right? And what's right for one isn't necessarily right for the other. And, it's not our job to say you have to do this or that, but to simply say, these are the options, and what fits for you, right?
100%, yeah.
I think just because you were showing the treatment on there that I had on Saturday, just so people know, it's a comfortable procedure for the most part. You're numbed prior to. So I just had a topical lidocaine on my face for about an hour. It's a little spicy in areas, but it's over pretty quick.
It is, yeah.
And we have, it's tolerable, and when it's done, it's done. It's not like you leave and you think, oh, my face is burning or hurting or anything after the fact. It's kind of like, it's just when that energy is delivered, and the odd spot can be a bit spicy, but as soon as that's done, it's done. I think it's interesting when you talk about older style radio frequency versus this, because, oh boy, I've seen some pictures where somebody looks like they lost a fight 3 days ago, and they're swollen and black and blue. And I mean, I was a bit swollen yesterday, and I might be slightly swollen a bit today, like slightly. I actually don't hate it, because then I'm really smooth, but but it's so nothing. Like, you could just carry on with your life.
Yeah. No,
and that's pretty cool.
It's been a great adjunct to fillers, and great adjunct to skincare, a great adjunct to our Halo BBL combo. So for face aging, right? So we've got skin aging. We're going to use skincare. We're going to use technologies. We're going to use collagen induction. You've got volume loss that starts here. Everything goes down here. You've got excess fatty stuff that goes on here and here. And then we start using stuff to take that fat away permanently, whether it be cool sculpting or Morpheus 8 to improve skin integrity as well as sculpt the face. And then we help you maintain by doing like a series of 3 BBL to keep that genetic the genetics of your skin optimized, right?
And then of course filler, right? So there is still filler. It just,
yeah.
it's amazing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the be all end all, right?
Nope.
We've got lots of tools in our toolbox.